call your name, if you could, or your square or whatever is in your square, if you could just give me your name, the name of anyone you're with, and then tell me who you're representing here today, whether you're the owner or the applicant or a neighboring property owner or someone else. So I'll start with Matthew Evans, who I saw at an earlier hearing today. So Mr. Evans, I'll save you the time here. I see that you're the applicant and the architect on the project. Welcome back. I will move over to Mary Condon.
Yeah, hi, David. Mary Condon. I'm here with my husband, Ross Condon. And we are also the applicant's current residents of the property.
Gotcha. Okay. Welcome. I see that we have Steve Rabe. Is that right? Just need you to unmute. Mr. Rabe, if you could unmute, it's typically in the bottom left of the application.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Steve and Kathy Robbie. We're technically the current owners, but in the process of selling the house to our daughter, Mary Condon.
Okay, great. All right, welcome. And it's Robbie, you said?
Robbie.
Okay, great. And I see that we also have Kathleen Meehan from the zoning department. Welcome, Kathleen.
Yes, hello.
Okay, are we expecting anyone else to join us here on the applicant owner side of this before we get started? Okay, let's do it. I need to read through our hearing script. This will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll jump into it. So this is the February 14th, 2024 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. The case for today's case number ZH20240003. Sir Evans, you're on mute if you'd like to say something.
Your audio is breaking up terribly.
How's that?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to hear any of what I just said?
No.
Oh.
Okay, I'll start over. So I need to read through the hearing script. This will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So this is the February 14th, 2024 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. The case before us today is case number ZH20240003. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any potential opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. So for our purposes here today, I think I'll give the Robbies and Condons and Mr. Evans an opportunity to speak during that time, since you're all here in favor of this application and either residents, the architect, or the owner of the property. You all can orient that any way you want. Really, one of you can speak, all of you can speak. It's really up to you. Just however you think is the best way to communicate to me any background you think is important, what exactly it is you're asking for, and why, of course, you think it's appropriate for the relief to be granted. After that, I would move to the public if there were anyone here that I would consider the public for the purposes of this hearing. If someone does join us, I'll let them in and they'll have an opportunity. But if no one from the public arrives, I'll move on to Ms. Meehan, who will, for the zoning department, who will have the opportunity, if she would like, to provide any testimony in addition to her staff report. I'll have some questions along the way. I'll then go back to the applicants and the owners to respond to anything they've heard, either from questions from me or statements from Ms. Meehan. And in the event that any party, after all parties have made their presentations, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly. But to the extent there is some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, the last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, asking any questions, making any comments, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if you know now that you would like to provide something, I'm going to go ahead and collectively swear all those people in at once. If you're not sure, I can always swear you in later. If you could go ahead and raise your right hand, I need you to answer out loud and take yourself off of mute. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Great. All right. Thanks, everyone. Let's see. Who's going to be taking the lead here for us today on the presentation from the applicants?
I'd be happy to do it.
Floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I want to start out by stating that this is the existing property that we're discussing. It's an odd-shaped lot in a substantial subdivision. When this was purchased, there was an addition that had already been done on the back of the house in this location. There was an underground garage in this residence that the driveway used to wrap around and then rear load this garage that was located in the lower level. The lot falls from north to south as we're looking at this property. The Condons wanted to have an addition that would facilitate two things. One would be the ability to enter the house and have a covered entrance and mudroom to go into the home. Also to have some storage that can be accessed from the outside easily, which right now there's a side door in the home that enters right into the family room through a small hallway. But they would like many other homes in this area, to have a mudroom and a covered entrance into their home for deliveries. Then what they're also doing, regardless of the variance, is remodeling their kitchen. And then the other part of the addition is to have a nice master bath above the proposed addition on the first floor. The actual addition, in turn, extends out from the side of the house to the east. In doing so, makes the variance required here because of the 5-foot average side yard setback, which we would have because of the house is not, because of the shape of the lot, we can average the side yards in this case. But due to the zoning, the average side yard can't be anything less than 5 feet, as my understanding. So that's the variance we're asking for. We've tried to minimize the width of this addition as much as possible. The addition is only 7 feet wide. So in 7 feet, we're trying to get a master bath and a mudroom and a lot of other things. This by no means is a substantial addition. One of the comments that have been raised by Kate Meehan is the parking. And I would like to point out the condition that exists right now. This is the existing footprint of the house. This is a reverse view, whereas the north is now at this bottom side of the drawing, and this is the south. This is the easternmost property line, and this is the existing condition they have now. They come up some steps and they go into their house from here. Knowing that the driveway and the garage was removed, the driveway now ends right here and extends to the front here. So these two dashed lines represent the required parking space, off-street parking by the city of Cincinnati, 160 square feet, 8.5-foot minimum. So I just want to point out that as it stands currently, the existing homeowners, as many other people in this neighborhood, have to park outside. And in this case, the two required parking spaces extend into the front yard. So I wanted to make sure that you are fully understand that that is an existing situation.
Yeah,
but
just to be clear on that
Yeah.
point, only it looks like one of the space that's further back extends past the front of the home, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. At the same time, we still have parking that is located in the front. Yes. Yeah.
Based on that drawing again, where
Mhm.
will the addition, could you outline where exactly the addition
The
will
addition
extend to?
The addition goes out from here 7 feet,
Mhm.
comes back, and comes back right here. So it's clipping into the corner of this car. I'd like to point out also that this parking, this part of the paving is on the neighbor's property. So I wanted to show parking that is on their property itself.
Got it.
But they are paved onto the side property. So here's that addition right here coming out. You can see that this portion of the addition at the bay window is really just the covered entrance. If necessary, we could probably narrow that, but I would prefer not to. So like I said, the addition, if you look back at this, really is about 4 feet back from this box bay. So that's back here, right there. But the bathroom extends out above this area right there. So we're really not impacting the parking back here at all. The biggest impact is this space right there, which would force these cars forward, making part of this car then non-conforming and being partly into the front yard. But that is the basis, that this is the reason why we're here today, is that this addition is extending into this side yard. I'm aware of the fire rating requirements and other elements that we have to deal with as far as the extension. I'm sure that we will also get a discussion about this bay window. We have a bay window that cantilevers out. So that in fact reduces this 2'8" down to about 1'3" at the bay. It's not considered a true bay window per Cincinnati zoning because it has windows on one side and not 3 sides. So that is why a variance is needed. If we were to create a corner on this and have windows on 3 sides, this is something that Kate Meehan can answer. That might be considered a bay window then. I'm not certain. But then we probably wouldn't have to worry about the extension of that because we are allowed to extend into a side yard with a bay window.
Right.
Other than
So is
yes.
the bay, the setback that you're requesting is it 1 foot 3 inches from the property line?
Yeah, it's one. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And
Yes.
is
That
the
is
1 foot,
closest.
is the 1 foot 3 inches calculated from the bay window?
Yes, let me zoom in on this for you. Here's the bay window right here. Here's a line going from the bay window over to the property line, parallel to the property line or perpendicular to it. So we're 1'3" at this back corner. Again, here's my 5 foot setback line right here, that guy. So this area right here of the main structure, and then all of the bay window would be within that 5 feet. But if we I think if we bait it or angle the bay and put windows on 3 sides, then this would not be part of the issue, I think. But right now we'd like to keep it as a box bay. Obviously, if it means getting the variance to turn it to a bay, I'm sure the condos would certainly consider that. So I just wanted to just give an overview of this space, why they would like to have this space. This is a relatively small home as compared to some of the other houses in the neighborhood. You can see the original footprint of the building was here. This addition was done years later. There was a kitchen remodeling that was done. So it's not that they're asking for anything extraordinary as far as what they're doing for the work, but the extraordinary element is the fact that their property is extremely narrow as it moves back. And we've maintained a 7.5 foot setback on this side, but because the house is built parallel with this side yard, it just tightens up the further back we get to the point where we really, and also you need to know that we really can't access the backyard. If somebody wanted to build an accessory structure back here, trying to access that now with as tight as this space has become would be extremely difficult. A true hardship to the owner to try to access any type of rear accessory garage structure if that would be something that would be suggested. I believe at some point this property was added to. This is the original parcel line. It actually was even narrower. And they probably did this, I don't know when the property, there might have been a 50-50 split between the previous homeowner and this neighboring property. but at some point, the property lines were adjusted or redrawn to consolidate this little portion of this property right here. Does anybody else have anything to add to that? No, okay. That's it for now, if that helps.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. If no one else wanted to comment on the owner side, I'll turn it over to Ms. Meehan.
Thank you, David. So Matthew gave a very thorough explanation about the property. I don't have a whole lot to add. I tried to be pretty thorough in my staff report. I did do some research on the adjacent properties. This property does have the irregular side yard, as do several other properties in the vicinity. So that is a condition that exists here in the neighborhood. I did note that the property at 3851, which is to the right, did have an addition added in 1984 that is very close to the property line. It's about 2 feet off on the one side, where they also have an irregular side yard. So it was done prior to current zoning. The property owner to the other side at 3843 also had a rear addition put on. And it was also done prior to current zoning, but it did follow the existing setbacks. And I believe they have a 7-foot setback on that side where they abut 3847. So looking at some other properties, certainly the irregular side yard creates some issues because it's very narrow, but I did kind of measure some other side yards in the vicinity to see, if what those were. And I did find some that would be sub minimum to the SF6 zoning. Like some people had maybe a 6-foot side yard that had a bit of an irregular side yard, but I did not find any that were as close to the 1.3 feet proposed here or the 2 feet at 3851. And then I don't know if you want me to also go ahead and address the parking.
Sure. Yeah, whatever you'd like to tell me. Wait,
Okay.
before we get to that, did you comment on 3843, the next door neighbor, and their current side setbacks?
Yes, so it looks like, and again, this is, going off older plans, but it indicated that they had a 7-foot side yard setback and that they followed that with their rear addition.
Okay. Here, I'm going to try and share my screen because I think this is an interesting application. Can you guys see the Cages map there?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As I 1 foot 3 inches is much closer to the property line than I typically see, even in a zoning district like SF6. So, but as I looked at the Cages map, and I know that these lines are approximate, right, Ms. Meehan?
Yes.
This looks like it's on the property line. So to the folks that live there, is that accurate? I mean, does it to the Robbies or anyone?
Can you, since you have it pulled up, can you measure that distance? Because I can compare it to
Sorry.
What distance?
from
This one?
yeah, no, to the applicant's house from that point.
I can I can try. I know how to use this. I think
There you go.
it's about 7 feet,
And
6.92.
and that's the setback that the applicant has to that property line.
That's what the applicant has to that property line. I'm referring to the applicant's neighbors at 3843.
Correct. I was only asking you to do that to give reference to how close that property line is drawn to its actual location.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Is this an actual part of the principal structure to the Robbies, the contents?
Yes.
Yes.
And it's on, so it's to your best of your knowledge, it's on the property line or within 1 foot 3
If that's
inches
the
of the
property line, then yeah, I would say so. I mean, I've never really seen it drawn there, but
Yeah. Okay.
and if you looked at some of those all over other drawings, the sketches, it kind of shows their walkway is kind of infringing on that side on
Mhm.
our property. Yeah.
I would say that's very close based off the survey also showing the Condon's driveway extension into the neighboring property. You can see that just the front of their car, how it extends just into that property. So I'd say that aerial is very close.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and as I go down here, it looks like there are very, very narrow side setbacks for some of these homes
It's
on
all very tight, yes.
one or both sides. Okay.
You can also notice in your photograph there also that the neighboring property owner does not have a garage as well. Is that correct, Mary?
That's
That-
correct, and as captured very clearly in this overview, they have two large vehicles that are always parked beyond the front threshold of the home. They never move a car past a bump out, that they have similar little bay window to what we saw on our front of our home. And their cars never go past that front entry of their property.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to talk through that. Yeah, so Ms. Meehan, you said you wanted to talk about the parking as well.
Yes, so I did kind of do a survey of the area to look at the parking. Typically we will look to see, for a variance or special exception, is that a condition that exists in the area? So I did note that the neighbor at 3851 does look like they park at least one, and it sounds like both cars probably park to the front of the house because they do not have a driveway that extends past the front of the house and around to the back. Looking at most of the other properties here and on Broadview, it does look like the majority of those do have either a garage or they have a driveway that extends past the front wall of the house and or around to the back. So that was what I looked at to make my determination. So other than 3851, it looks like most of the rest of the neighbors do have conforming parking, and that either the driveway extends past the front wall of the house and around to the back, or they have a garage.
Okay.
I do
So-
think, oh, sorry, go ahead, David.
Well, I was just gonna try and frame that a little bit. So it's not that cars aren't parking. Here, I'll share my screen again as I just go through the street view, and this is just demonstrative. It's by no means is this supposed to be a scientific calculation here, but so you're Ms. Meehan, you're saying regardless of the fact that there are properties that do this, these properties have the ability for these cars to get past the home.
Right. I mean,
Right.
at
So that's what you're looking at.
3851, right. I mean, that is a large vehicle, and I can't tell from that photo if they can pull that vehicle all the way to the side of the house. I mean, they do have some driveway that extends past the front. But again, I don't know if that vehicle maybe is too large and they don't park it there. But again, looking, just kind of doing a survey of the rest of the neighborhood, it does, again, not to say people don't park, their vehicle towards the front of the driveway potentially, but they do have the ability, it looks like, to either park in a garage or pull the car, farther up or around to the back of the house.
They
All right.
actually have 3 cars in that house next door too. So one is always parked on the street.
Mhm. Okay.
And also, well, there's one other on the other side down that also doesn't have access to a garage in the back. Carl and
I think
Janice.
there's 2 or 3 others that were some indicated in your report, Kate, and some that weren't captured in the screenshot that you provided that I would identify as non-conformant to the topic that we're discussing.
Got it.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, based on, I tried to look at some, different aerials and overhead views, but, certainly I may not be able to capture everything or, see what the existing condition is.
Okay, great. Ms. Meehan, is there anything else you wanted to add about your staff report or this application in general?
I mean, I would just add that, the addition is very modest. So it's not so much of a problem with the addition, but it's more of a problem with the, again, the very narrow side yard setback that will be created by the addition. And then, the front yard parking, and again, I'm, following what the code says, and the code says no front yard parking, and, you should have a minimum of a 5-foot side yard setback for an irregular side yard. So, those are, I'm basing my determinations on that. So, but it is a small addition. It's not a large addition, but again, based on those factors, I felt like I couldn't really recommend approval.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Kate. Thanks for your testimony, and thanks for your work on the staff report. All right. I'd like to give everyone else an opportunity to respond to any of my questions or any of the discussion so far, or Ms. Meehan's staff report.
I'd just like to ask if, hypothetically, if that bay window did have angles on it, first of all, and did have glass on all 3 sides, even as a box bay, would it then not be considered a bay window? That's a question for Kathleen.
Yeah, so you're correct. If the bay, whether it was a box or angled bay, if it had windows on 3 sides, it meets the other definitions of a bay window. It's just the fact that it does not have the windows on 3 sides that we can't consider it like an exempt projection.
So if we did that, Mr. Sturkey, correct? Would we then not be asking for a variance of 2'8" in lieu of asking to approve a 1' 3" side yard?
I believe that's correct. Yes, you would. The bay window would be excluded from the side setback calculation.
Would that have a substantial impact as far as you're concerned, or is that something you would consider, knowing that the variance would be much less than what we're asking for currently?
That is something that I would consider with the variance as you're asking currently. I've dealt with a couple of these before, and there's even been discussion, I think, about potentially amending how the bay windows are calculated, because particularly when you're dealing with a side setback where you're getting closer to the neighbor's home, oftentimes neighbors, in my experience, and the homeowners themselves with the bay windows would prefer less windows as you get closer.
Right.
You're already getting close to the other person's property. Sometimes you don't want as much transparency as you get closer. So to me, it's kind of paradoxical in that way, and how we do those calculations. And so in my mind, if you wanted to turn this into a bay window or add windows, I know you've submitted letters of support from neighboring property owners. I would want to revisit that to make sure they're okay with the more windows.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
And I would hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I would also like to point out that you've received letters of approval or people that approve of the variance from the immediate neighbors. So this is something that the community is in favor of. I believe that they understand all the nuances involved in this project as well.
Well, yeah, I wanted to ask about that, and then I just pulled that up. Were they able to actually see the plans for the?
Yes, we provided them with a copy of Matt's application for the zoning or the variance application, as well as the all of the renderings of the addition, the current plot, and the slides that Matt started with, sort of demonstrating the extension of the addition into the property lines. We were as transparent and sharing as much information as we could in our conversations with all of our neighbors, and in soliciting their support of this.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mary, is that in the bay window just on the 2nd floor?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not down at parking level?
No.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? In closing or otherwise, or any other arguments or part of the presentation you'd like to make?
Yeah, I mean, you did reference the letter of support that we submitted, so just reiterating that we have, garnered support from all of our immediate neighbors and, are prepared if need be to, extend that support more broadly throughout the neighborhood. A little context that we didn't share previously is that this is my childhood home, so it's the only home I've ever lived in the city of Cincinnati. I was born and raised there and am, looking to keep the home in our family and continue that for my family. We have 2 small children, and are growing our family and want to, continue and have it be in that neighborhood, in that home that means so much to us. So, in no way would we be proposing or recommending you and introducing any plans that would in any way negatively impact the home, the property, the neighborhood that, has meant so much to our family over all these years.
Okay.
And then
Well,
the
thank
other
you.
addition I wanted to make was we purchased the home in 1986. And there was never an opportunity to park the cars in any other fashion other than in front of the house. We could fit 1 car that would go back to the current steps, but the second car was always in front of the house, and there was never another option for that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else from anyone? Okay, we'll leave it at that then. The zoning code does require me, or does ask that I do site inspections, which are essentially just drive-throughs of the neighborhood to understand the neighborhood compatibility a little bit better. On some applications, based on some online resources and tools we have here, I'm able to forego that. But this sounds like something that I would kind of like to get on the ground. And just to see a little bit better, I will say that I am inclined to approve the application though. So barring something that I notice out there or something that really jumps out as problematic, I am inclined to approve the application. And really that's based on just evaluating just how close some of these setbacks are. And how close some of these homes are, and and also the shape of the lot, the irregular shape of the lot. I think it would be very hard to meaningfully add to this home without some sort of zoning relief. And so, yeah, that's the current status. I should be able to do a drive-by this week that doesn't require anyone's attendance. It really is just sort of a drive-through. As soon as I make a decision, I need to formalize that in a written decision that typically takes about 2 weeks total. As soon as I finish it, I put into a PDF and I email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today, so you all have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. If it is an approval, Ms. Meehan will be able to approve the zoning on her end once she gets that, and then hopefully you all will be able to move forward. Any questions about that process or anything else?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, if you do, feel free to reach out to me directly, or if you'd like a status update on the decision, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to provide that to you. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and thank you all again for your time and your testimony.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you.